You make your money when you buy. You might have heard this phrase before and not completely understood it. If you're in the reselling business, or as I like to say, if you're a dealer, I don't call myself a reseller per se. I'm a second-hand dealer, always have been. Reselling is a relatively new word. But if that's what you're into, and presumably it is because that's why you're watching this video, you should already know that that statement is true. Okay, you make your money when you buy. But not everybody understands it. Some people argue against it, and that's fine. I'm not here to have an argument. I'm just here to put my opinion and perspective across as to why I think it's such an important statement, and is a matter of fact. So, before we talk about buying, let's talk about selling, all right? And more importantly, let's talk about sales price. In other words, what you're going to sell something for. Because this is something that is pretty much set in stone, right? Because it really isn't something that you can manipulate. The sales price of something, I'm speaking generally here, okay? The sales price of something is pretty much set in stone by the market, the market, the environment that thing is being sold in. So let me give you an example. When you go out and buy anything as a retail customer, and that's important, you already pretty much know how much you've got to spend on it. You've probably done, a bit of research. But if let's talk about stuff that you buy all the time, loaf of bread, pair of shoes, whatever. You know how much you're going to pay for it, okay? And the reason for that is because the market has already set the price for that item within there's a bit of movement, but there's not a great deal. You might be able to buy a loaf of bread cheaper at one shop than you can at the other, but it's going to be a fairly narrow margin. And as I said, that price is set in stone. That is the perceived value, retail value of that particular item. Nothing you can do about it. You've got no control over it. The market decides, not you. And this is an important point. And I'm really talking here to new dealers or new resellers, because I think that if you can get your head round this, what I'm going to talk to you about today, it will really give you a leg up in your reselling business and in your attempts to buy the right stuff at the right price. You see, when you're selling something, the people that you're selling to are retail customers. They're not resellers or dealers, unless you're selling into the trade, you're in the wholesale business, or you're specifically selling to the trade. But most of the people that are going to be watching this video, resellers, second-hand dealers, they're selling to retail customers, okay? They're going out and buying something and then they're selling it in a market somewhere, whether it's a physical market, an online market. They're selling to retail customers, and those retail customers are pretty shrewd from this point of view. They know roughly what they're going to need to pay for the thing it is you've got for sale. So if you price your item, let's say the retail price, the average retail price is £25. If you price yours at £50, you're not going to sell it. It's as simple as that, right? Unless there's something really specifically original about it, or it's something different. I'm talking, let's just, to get this point across, let's just talk about something that is just a normal retail product. Okay? Retail customers know what they can expect to pay for it. They know how much these things are worth. They know what people sell them for. They know how much they're going to have to pay for it. This is set in stone. You can't manipulate it. It's out of your control. And as we know as dealers, the only way to make money is to buy below that market value. That market value is what the retail customers know they're going to have to pay for that product. We've got to buy below that figure. Sounds easy, and it's not difficult. And there's lots of different ways to do it. But I'm going to keep on track with this video and just talk about why you make your money when you buy. I'm old school. The word resell is a new concept for me, and it's fine. I consider myself to be a second-hand dealer. I buy and sell second-hand goods. I deal in second-hand goods. Now, here's the point. In order to buy below market price or below market value, right, you have to know what market value is. And I think a lot of new resellers, this video is really for new resellers, new second-hand dealers. You have to know what the market price is. If you do not know what the market price is, you're going to be in trouble. Because if you don't know what customers are going to pay for the item that you're thinking of buying, for example, you don't know what to pay for it. And this is where people make some big mistakes, all right, or small mistakes. They all add up. The important thing is you must know what the retail customer is prepared to pay for the item that you're looking to buy, without emotion, all right, without, you know, looking on eBay sold and saying, oh, I saw one of those sell for 60 quid, so I can pay 40 quid for it, there'll be a profit in it. One of them might sold for 60 quid before, but at the top end of the market, there might have been a reason for it. What you've got to do is you've got to establish an average price, okay, the main price that a retail buyer is going to give you for that particular item. As I say, without any emotion involved at all. Now, with that said, it's a simple enough concept, all right? But the biggest thing that I see people doing, or the biggest mistake that I see people doing, the people that contact me through my YouTube channel and ask me, you know, how much to pay for this, how much to pay for that, the biggest mistake they're making is that they're not learning themselves. They're not doing enough research into what these things sell for. I forget about the buying for a minute. So what these things sell for. And I think the main reason for that is because they are looking at everything and anything. I'm talking about people new to the game. Hopefully that's who's watching this video. That's who I'm trying to help here. My advice to people getting into the buying and selling game, whatever you want to call it, is to start off and focus down on one specific thing or one specific area. Right? Because if you just want to get into the business, you see all these videos, you see these great YouTubers, you know, that sell on eBay and Amazon and Facebook Marketplace and everything else. They make it look easy. They go to a boot sale, they've got their camera strapped on them, you know, they're in and out of the boxes and on the table. How much is that, mate? How much is that? They're making quick decisions and they just make it look completely easy. And to them it is, because they've learnt their trade. Okay? But when you're starting out, you're not going to be able to do that. If you've been to, for instance, a car boot sale before, or you've been into a charity shop looking for stuff to buy, I can imagine that you go in there and you look around all this stuff and these, you know, it looks, oh, that's lovely. That's a nice watch. Okay. But you've never ever researched what this particular watch is worth. All right. It's different from that one to that one. You've never researched how much this plate is worth. But you look at it and you think, oh, that's nice. Yeah, I could sell that. This is the big mistake that people make. And what you're doing, if you're going out looking for everything and anything to buy, is you're creating a real uphill battle for yourself. My advice, my suggestion is always go specific early on and learn about a single set or I mean, the word niche, isn't it? I don't even like the word niche, but specialise to start off with. Specialise in something and get practiced. All right, get experience at going out and looking for those particular things, and that'll do two things for you. The first thing it will do is it will stop the overwhelm. If you go to a boot sale, an antique sale, or go into a charity shop or an antique shop, second-hand shop, whatever, and just you're looking at everything. You go in there and you just look for specific things. Again, might be watches, okay? If you're interested in watches and if that's something that you want to buy and sell. So you just go and look for those things. Maybe even niche it down to Seiko watches, or whatever brand you like, and do your research and get a real good feel for what the market value of these things are. Now, you are going to have less opportunities doing this, obviously, because you're not going to be able to start off with, if you take my advice here or my suggestion, you're not going to be able to just buy anything in that shop. You're only going to be able to buy things in there that you know the true retail value of, what somebody is going to be prepared to pay for that thing when you're trying to sell it. But, like everything else in life, it takes time. You've got to educate yourself. Once you go through this process and you start finding things that you're going to specialise in, if you like, in the early stages I'm talking about, you'll quickly be able to adapt and add other products, other types of items to your list of things that you can go out and buy. And eventually what will happen is you will become like these great resellers, the successful resellers that you see on YouTube and the other social media platforms, where they can just go out to a market, they're picking things up so quick. How much is that, mate? Tenner. All right, yeah, put it back down, because they know already that, that's what they're going to sell it for. It's no good to them. All right. Okay, they might stand and negotiate, but I'm not talking about that for the moment. They know exactly, and they go on to something else and something else. They don't know it all, by the way. There's no one out there that knows it all. I mean, you can't see much of the stuff that I've got in here because it's all in boxes. But I will buy and sell literally anything. As I've always said, as long as it's legal, I will have a go at it, because I'm experienced in establishing value, retail value, very, very quickly. That's what I'm interested in knowing straight away, the retail value. When I've got that information and you get that through experience, then you start making your money. Then you start looking to buy the item, to negotiate, to find the price. It might be the right price already. You might pick something up, somebody gives you a price and you think, yep, that's me, bought that. And again, you'll see that on these videos from experienced resellers, because they know, all right? And that's where you make the money. This is what this phrase means. You make your money when you buy, not when you sell, all right? You make your money when you buy. Now, people will say, oh, that's a load of rubbish, because you haven't made any money until you sell, haven't you? You haven't got the cash, all right? What you've got now is equity. You've got some equity in whatever that product is. So let me give you an example. Everybody, if you talk about equity, everything's about the equity they've got in their house. So you bought your house, I don't know, 20 years ago for 100 grand. It's now the value of it now, all right, because you can find out the value of your house. You probably know it already. That's something that you are an expert in, probably. And if you don't know, it's easy to find out. You've only got to phone an estate agent or a couple of estate agents. They'll come round and tell you what the value of your property is. So let's say you bought it for 100 grand and they say, yeah, now it's worth £400,000. Is that a profit? It's equity. Profit, equity, I don't know technically if they're exactly the same thing, probably not. But for me, in my mind, that's a profit. That's a 300 grand profit. Now, you only get the cash when you sell it, but the work's done. The equity's there, the profit's there. You just go and sell it. And you say, well, yeah, but it might not sell. Well, then it's been overvalued. If you can't go and cash it in, it's been overvalued. Doesn't matter whether it's a house, a plate, a watch. It doesn't matter what it is. If you've established the retail value of something, all right, you've done the easy bit. But a lot of people don't even do that. Now comes the bit where you're going to earn your money, where you're going to make your profit, because you've got to buy, all right, at below that retail value. And as I said before, earlier on in the video, there's lots of ways to do this. Now, personally, okay, I don't buy a lot of individual items. I do buy them if I see them when I'm out and about, but I don't go out shopping or sourcing, whatever you want to call it, very often, because I don't need to. Look, I mean, I've got a container full of stuff here, and I'm not a hoarder. All this stuff is my stock for sale, or that will be for sale when I list it. I can only list so much in a day, and I do what I can. I work part-time at this now. I used to do it full-time, used to run it from my house. Left the house, I've got this unit now. That's why this stuff is in here. Okay, but everything that is in here owes me very, very little. Very, very little, if anything at all. There are certain items that are in here that I've bought, and they're normally more expensive items that I've paid good money for. And the reason that it owes me very, very little is because of the way that I buy. I don't buy very often individual items. I buy in bulk. I get my stuff in bulk. Sometimes it's from house clearances, but even if it's not from house clearances, even if I go and buy from another dealer when I need the stock, if I need the stock, I want to buy in bulk. My favourite place to buy is in somebody's house. My speciality, if you like, is buying from people in their house before it goes to the market. This again is for another video. If you want me to do a video on that, I will do on how you go about doing that. But that's how I buy. I buy in bulk. Again, I'll explain in another video why I do that, why I've got a business unit, and why I've got so much stock that owes me next to nothing. Now, I'm not saying this to blow my own trumpet or make myself sound clever. That's just the way that I work, right? And I've been doing it for a long time. It's what I know. I mean, I'd struggle if I was like some of these resellers that I see on YouTube and other resellers that I know or dealers that I know. I'd struggle because I don't want to be out all the time going around car boot sales and charity shops and all that sort of stuff, looking on Facebook Marketplace for individual items. I just don't want to do it. If you do, that's fine. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it. If that's how you want to operate, that's fine. A lot of people do. There's other considerations, that you have to think about here. You can't operate like me if you haven't got the space that I've got. I choose to have this space. I rent it. This is a business overhead. I'm in business. It's an overhead, right? Like having a shop. But if you don't want to go down that road, then the way I do it wouldn't be any good for you. Either way, it doesn't matter. The hard work starts, or not the hard work. The art of the deal, in my opinion, is when you buy this stuff. You know the value. Now you go to work. Now you got to buy at the right price. If you've made it this far in the video, well done, because the vast majority of people haven't. All right. Now, let me leave you with this, which I hope is going to be your golden nugget. I said earlier on in the video that when you're a seller, you've got no control over the retail price. The market decides. The buyers decide how much they're going to pay. But when you're the buyer, you also have control over the price that you're going to pay. And we're not talking about a retail price here. We're talking about, if you like, the trade price, your buying in price. And the person that you're dealing with is now the seller. When you're dealing with a seller, you need to get into their mind. You need to understand their motivation, why they want to sell. This is where you start negotiating from that mindset. This is where you make your money. This is where, depending on the circumstance and depending on who it is you're dealing with, this is where you have to start educating the seller about what they've got and what it's really worth. It's about making them understand that you're not a retail buyer, you're a dealer. You buy stuff and you're the one that then sells it to make your profit. Most people understand this, some don't, and you have to educate them in a nice way. Nice, simple, but truthful way, because that is the situation. You explain to them that if they want to get the full retail price, then they're going to go and need to get in front of retail customers. That means either going to a market physically themselves and selling it, getting on eBay, Vinted, all the online markets, and physically doing that themselves. They want to get the full retail price. But when you get in the customer's mindset, if someone's called you out, for instance, because they've got some stuff for sale, they are motivated sellers. There's a reason that they want to get rid of that stuff, and the reason that they've called you out. And the main reasons are because they haven't educated themselves. They don't really know what the stuff's worth. They can't be bothered to go and do a car boot sale themselves. They want a guaranteed sale. They want a quick sale. They haven't got the time to list stuff on eBay and go through all the packaging and customer returns and all that stuff. They don't want to do it. And remember, you don't have to buy. Okay? Once you've bought it, you have to sell. But when you're buying, you don't have to buy. You can just walk away. If the deal's not right, you can walk away. And the deals won't always be right. You're not always going to be able to negotiate a price with somebody that's fair on both sides. They get what they want, a quick sale with no aggravation. They save their time. You get what you want, an item that's below market value, so that you can go on and sell it at market value and make your profit. That's what you do. That's why you're in business. So you are in control as the buyer. And if you can get your head round this will take you a long way in your dealing endeavours, shall we say. Learning to sell stuff's easy. All right, learning to go and do a boot sale, learning to list stuff on eBay, take photographs, la-di-da-di-da, all the rest of it, it's easy. I mean, pretty much anybody can do that. But learning how to buy properly takes more time, it takes more effort, and it takes a bit of a change in your mindset. But when you get it, when you do get it, and you do it right, that, I can assure you, is where you will make your money. You will make your money when you buy, not when you sell. When you sell, you just get the cash. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.